Okay, I think we should be live on YouTube as well. How are you doing? That's good.
Thanks for doing it.
Sure, thank you for joining. Yeah. Hopefully a few more people join, but if not, this is fine. All right. Really wish I would stop doing that, but it's what it is. All right. Okay, so I think we're good to go. So it doesn't look like anybody else is joining us right now, and it doesn't look like anybody's watching us on YouTube just yet. But I can go ahead and start because this will be recorded. So, um, also thank you for that great email. That was very kind. Yeah, thank you. So yeah,
Information and just been a new perspective. So yeah, I'd be interested in how you kind of honed in on that particular framework. Anyway, so yeah, go ahead.
sure. So just to answer that, so I feel like I've been building up to understanding this for like my whole life. So I started off with doing computer science with the intention of like being a video game designer. And when I was younger, I thought that would entail like learning how all of existence really works, so that I can find mechanics in it and then like model those into a game mechanics. So it really started that way. And then I finished my computer science degree, took all the different sciences that are required for it, and then really started to understand how you can layer different systems together to create a whole unified like operating system to like run just about anything. And that gave me the background to be able to recognize how different things can feed into different systems to build a greater whole that can support a much greater like goal. And then from there, I had some losses, and then those kind of drove me to like search for what the meaning of everything is, and then also like the uh, the things in science that sort of tie everything together. And I was lucky enough to find the teachings of Dan Winter, and then several other people like Drumville Melchizedek and other people who relate science. And then I found that they're finding evidence that there's quantum mechanics inside of the body. And then from there, I was like, well, this is all real. And then I started diving in it more and more, and I realized that plasma is really the substrate in which basically everything moves within in this universe. And it just all started to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I would get hunches about things, and then I would dive into researching that, and it would turn out those hunches would be real. I was intuitively figuring things out, and then it kept snowballing. It, yeah, yeah. How long have you been interested in this stuff?
So I think it was 2023 that I started to question things I used to believe. I was having my daughter, teenager. She was having some of these issues come up, and so the systems that I had formerly thought would provide appropriate information was confusing to me, and so I started to kind of go up the chain of like, okay, okay, why, what system was above that system, what system was above that one. And so I started to just realize that nothing was really what I thought it was for the first decades of my
Yeah.
life. And so then I started reading everything I could, and reading about the nature of reality, and then it's kind of funny. My whole worldview really blew apart from. I don't know if you know my lunch break on YouTube.
No, I haven't heard of it. No.
He Okay. So he talked about like these like really large buildings that that we pass every day and don't really think about, but it was like when they were constructed, how they were constructed. He's kind of talking about how it doesn't really fit with what we're told about how, oh, now we're at this high level of evolution, when apparently in like 1850 they built these massive, beautiful government buildings,
Yeah.
that defied what we could do today. And so that was kind of the first piece, which is like a so it's not a very like uh, high level spiritual awakening, but it caused me to question everything.
No, I get it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was like that piece where it's like it doesn't fit, and so what can I do to make something that fit? And so anyway, yeah, now I've gotten more into like consciousness and quantum stuff, and I don't understand a lot of it, but I have done like a little bit of psychedelic work, for myself to kind of get through, just my own stuff, past trauma, all that kind of thing. And I really, so what you said really resonated, because several times during those kind of experiences, I came to this feeling of this zero point.
yeah,
Describe that really well, how the ways that things phase, and just like the toroidal
yeah,
field, and how there has to be like this kind of zero point state, and that was so physically present for me, you know and now is when I just do like a meditation, uh, feel this kind of empty blankness that is both nothing and everything.
yeah.
And
That's great. Yeah,
so
that's fascinating. Yeah. So I've had very similar experiences several times. And I can usually try to get it in like on demand at this point, just like you're saying you can. It's fascinating. Um, yeah,
I think at this point, like, I'm really trying to information for my life, for, personally, because I have, there's a couple, very few, but there's a couple people in my life that are conspiracy theory kind of minded, and I
okay,
shouldn't even call it conspiracy theory anymore because it's not.
yeah,
But minded, but get stuck in that mental space of just cycling through endless ideas. So at this point in my life, I'm really trying to make sure that I'm using it to bring into myself the person, energy, direction that I want to go. So kind of taking information and alchemizing it into either a state of being or a course of action, that sort of thing.
yeah. I try to do the same. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like if you can get in that state and maintain it, that you can kind of pull things towards you that are beneficial. Yeah. Yeah.
And I never felt like I had that agency before at all. And now, it's not like I'm like, I can manifest anything, but I definitely feel like I can be truth with me and make the decision that's going to continue to, you know, snowball into the right path.
Yeah. I feel. Yeah. I get you. I feel the same way. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, and I did check out your website. It's very neat. I was gonna join the circle community, but I just didn't get around to it yet. But yeah, I was looking at it. It's very nice. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a work in progress, but my hope was that people could connect there, and so everything's free right now, and will be free because I'll probably get like 5 people total. But if if that ever changes, I noticed uh, like at this point I'm single. I lost my relationship when I had this big spiritual. I was dating a guy. I live in the DC area, and I was dating a guy who's well entrenched in government, and he was quite offended that I would question, God bless America, everything's perfect here, and for the land of the free. So that fell apart. And then in trying to find other people to connect with, friends or relationships, it's like, nope.
yeah. No, it's hard. Yeah, yeah, it's hard to find people. Yeah. So one, it's go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say that one group I found, it's not perfect. And I belong to like the younger group because I'm still barely within that age range. But there's the Theosophists, Theosophical Society. They have a pretty decent foothold in the DC area. Um, so that place, they do talk about a lot of this stuff. They talk about the 0 point, but they don't really call it that because it's older like ideas. But they talk about like the gem at the center of the lotus, which is supposed to be the chakras. And they do talk and touch on a lot of these concepts, but it's from a more like traditional spiritual kind of view. So they talk about all these hierarchies and stuff like that, and they do read the old literature from the founders and stuff a lot more in the main groups. But yeah, that might be a good place to check out for like-minded people. Yeah.
Okay, so Theosophy group, yeah, that's great because I'm my basic like right now is very much Gnostic.
Sure. Okay.
They kind of Theosophy. Um,
It might be worth just checking out. It's not really for everyone, and it's not perfect, but I mean it's not bad to talk with people who are into this stuff, and they do have events and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I thought we could basically just do a just like a quick lecture because this is the first, I don't know, meeting or nightly or weekly thing, live event. So I thought we'd just do something on like spiritual physics 101 or whatever. Um, and what I want to talk about is basically just the basics of reality creation, like we just talked about. So if we think about how there's always been the yin and yang, or like the light and dark side of things. Um, there's always the swing between polarities. So there's extremes on either end of everything. This is the ebb and flow of the universe, and with the yin and yang, what they're basically saying. So I'm going to try this with the dry erase board. What they're basically saying is that this is not a great circle, but the dark side and the light side always have these little circles of the other side inside of them. And I think this has always been saying is that this white dot inside the dark and the dark side inside the white side are really sort of like an axis for a toroidal donut. So you've got this line coming in here, basically you've got a tunnel between the two, where each side contains a little bit of the other one because it's basically a portal between the two sides. And this structure exists in pretty much everything, where you've got a polarity of uh, darkness to lightness, or lighter energy to heavier energy, or higher frequencies to lower frequencies. Um, and by understanding that we actually exist right here in the center of the yin and yang, we begin to understand that we are really the focal points for our experience between the two extremes. And the more we can be aligned here in that center point, the more we can pull frequencies or states of being out of the ether or the quantum field or the 0 point energy field towards us and manifest it into reality. Um, and how this really works is that we're all consciousnesses with these different center points we call chakras that go up and down the spine. And what's happening when we try to bring in uh, things via manifestation or try to get into alignment is that we are basically sitting as close as possible in between these two center points. Because what happens at stillness, which would be in the center here, is that you're able to pull or draw to you almost like a treadmill or a tractor being or whatever, towards you to bring whatever in similar frequency to you. Because like attracts like. And so just attracting the opposite. So if you get on either side of the extremes, you're going to attract the opposite more quickly as opposed to staying in the center where you have more manifestation control. Um, Another thing I think that's very overlooked with this that is that each person is self-contained inside of this electromagnetic bubble we have that is our aura, um, the electromagnetic field that our heart produces, all comes out of this. Uh, our heart, our brain, all these different chakras work together to create an electromagnetic field that then allows us to have a separating bubble or an outer layer that separates us from the rest of the world. And that's our own little universe. We experience that internally, and it's basically our universe. What I think is probably the next step to understanding this better and understanding how powerful a human being is really is to understand that if the universe is one thing and it's subdivided itself into billions of trillions of different other selves to experience itself, um, what ends up happening is in order for this universe, this godhead, monad, whatever you want to call it, in order for it to be in all different spots at once, it has to be able to exist from each one of those spots at all times and communicating with itself from those different spaces. So, what that means is that at the center of a different chakra or center of an atom, center of everything, basically the top of the universe, let's say this is the universe with its toroidal field. The top of the universe and the bottom of the universe are really the same point at that center, where when energy cycles through this center point, it's really going to the bottom and then popping back out here at the top constantly. Meaning that the reality we're experiencing, for all intents and purposes, contains the entire universe or is fractal. And when you think about how you can see those different Mandelbrot sets that will continuously fall into the image and its self repeating patterns, that's where our reality is. We're self repeating patterns that we contain the whole, and energy is constantly flowing through our center point, entering our reality, re entering the center point of all these different atoms, and then sharing back through the entire universe at these different points. And this cyclical process is literally how the universe keeps itself intact, can keep track of what's happening, can relate to itself with other selves. And it's all because it really originates from a single point that seems like it's in many different spaces. But in actuality, because that center point emanates reality across all of existence, it is the center of everything, even if it's in different locations, apparently to us. Um, and just for like a lived example of how that would work, one example I keep going back to and like to use is if you're having a conversation with someone in like a cafeteria, and there's in your perception, in your reality, there's a table between you two. You're talking over a table. But in the other person's reality, let's say there is no table. And let's say that person that you're talking to wants to get up and come and shake your hand. Well, to them, they would just walk straight to you in a straight line. But for you, in your reality, what would end up happening is you would see them walk around the table because that in your reality, that table is very real. However, it doesn't matter that the two realities don't really sync up like an experience. Only thing that really matters is that when that person comes around that table to come shake your hand, that you both meet at that precise moment in time so that you both exchange energy at that point to create the shared event that we can say happened. And while this isn't the perfect example because a lot of the times there's going to be a table in both our realities, I think it really goes to show like you can have different perceptions of the same events and they're both equal in validity. Um, yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Are you talking about the possibility though of slightly out of our dimension interaction? Or are you talking about just pure perception, like the sense of know what McDonald's is. I might not like it. You might think it's the best thing, And so we live in the same reality, but our perceptions are very, different. But we both agree on the same basic thing.
Right. Yeah. That's it. So like, it's a consensus reality where, the many, com- like especially humans because we're so interconnected on a subconscious level, like th- there's a reason why countries have their own respective traits. Like the typical American behaves this way, the typical Englishman behaves this way. It's because there's like a lived pattern that we're inhabiting. So that creates a base level of perception or a similarity that we can share amongst each other. Um, and that also repeats inside the body with I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Michael Levin's work too much, but he's showing that the cells in our body usually actually just use a pattern called voltage gradients. He calls them voltage gradients. That it the cells will read as when they're stem cells to figure out what kind of cell to become. And this has been demonstrated in different species, and it's like a blueprint for the cells. And I think the same thing exists across all layers of reality, including nations, and then like even humanity as a whole. So yeah.
I was wondering, hey, I don't I should be talking while you're doing this YouTube.
No, so I no, this is fine. So the lecture is basically included. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect with this, so I didn't really do too much with it. Yeah. So yeah.
But anyway, I was just thinking about like, say we have an organ, in our body, um, and it's our spleen, and those cells are all have within them, the powerhouse, the nucleus, and they decided to be spleen cells, and they sort of have to, if they die, they regenerate as a spleen cell till the entire organism, the person, and that's over, the energy is released. And I was like, incarnating as humans as part of something that will eventually change. But for now, we're serving this purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've seen the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. Um, it's okay if you have or no. Okay, sure, sure. So I was just wondering, so because that movie, at the end, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to anyway. But they at the end, there's like a big baby out in space, and it's symbolizing that what we're actually working towards is like creating a global size human consciousness. And so like over time, this consciousness gets more and more lived experiences, and we contribute to it more and more as we become more and more psychically advanced. um, and it's going to be basically like a planet-sized consciousness that will be available to the rest of the universe, as help to go through what we're going through. And a lot of the entities and beings that we interact with, psychics and stuff, they're interacting with these planetary intelligences. I believe that Venus is a big one for us, and so is Jupiter and Saturn. Like all the major planets in our solar system are big for us. Um, but there's also the ones in different solar systems, galaxies like Sirius, Pleiades, all that stuff. I think those are like consciousnesses that are like evolved to the point where, as like a almost like an AI, but a spiritual like construct is interacting with us. Yeah, and I think this is the progress that we go through as a species. We were able to contribute to this bigger whole that creates a new life form. Then we slowly evolve ourselves to become more and more complex as well. And it's like a hierarchy ladder that's moving on different levels at the same time. We're operating within each other continuously. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it seems to be all about expansion and more information. You know, that system.
yeah. I think free will has a lot to do with it because it is the universe experiencing itself. So it's like, how does this individual consciousness want to experience its existence this at this moment? So for us, that's us wanting to live in this as a species, wanting to live in this disconnected way right now, because it is teaching us, like, I think at the end of all this madness with like a few people trying to lock us down and like take control of the world, I think at the end of this we're going to have a much better idea of the human condition, what good and evil looks like inside of us, as well as like a scientific understanding of what we are. So if Jesus came 2000 whatever years ago, and he was telling us that I and the Father are one, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, and then we had the age of reason come about, in the last 300 years. The age of reason got rid of all that stuff, saying it's all nonsense. Only what we can measure exists. And if we can measure things that seem dangerously close to the old spiritual concepts, we've come full circle. And it's basically like an upgrade, an evolution of species. And I think we're right on the cusp. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This is some stuff from Rudolf Steiner, who's also used to be into theosophy. Broke off to his own group, anthroposophy. But yeah, it's all spiritual science stuff. And
About like the pendulation.
yeah, it's Agbentov. Yeah,
But that's cool because I've really tried to figure out how AI fits into this. And, you know, gone through kind of a crisis and thinking, okay, AI, if we've gotten this close, maybe we're all just AI that's already advanced. And don't be spirit, so to speak, the deeper.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so, so say you feel like we are in a kind of period of time that things are changing it more rapidly to bring about a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to coincide with the Kali Yuga cycles that we're going through. There's differing opinions. Some people say we're like at the very bottom of the Kali Yuga, and some people say we're about to go through the ascent to enter. I think it's called Dwarpa Yuga, where things start to become more clear. It's not so like hazy and dark from a consciousness perspective, allowing these dark, very selfish people to wrangle control of an entire planet. Yeah.
That's the purpose,
Yeah.
you know. Because some of the spiritual stuff is like, okay, you go back, we're ascending to this love and light sort, like we're full of all this infinite energy, infinite love. That's great. Why did we ever need to come here then? Like what you don't need to physically experience suffering more than to know what you're not, what you don't want. Like maybe there's a case to be made. Be down here in the 3D, everything's dense, physical. Okay, you do that and you go up. Got that basic knowledge. You went to 3D kindergarten, and then but because I believe in reincarnation from the studies and stuff. So the whole doing it over and over again, I'm like, what?
So, what I've come to the conclusion of from listening and reading different things, and also trying to look at this from an energetic standpoint, is that in the book and courseware, I guess, called A Course in Miracles, I didn't read the whole thing or anything, but Jesus is talking about it's a channeling between this woman who was a psychologist and didn't believe in any of this stuff and is actually Jewish, and then she suddenly starts channeling Jesus or Yeshua, and he's basically giving her a whole primer on how to get in alignment with your divine self and how to look at reality and basically create miracles. And he basically says that human beings are here to go through what we call the atonement, and they call the atonement. And it's basically saying, from what I understand, is that when you incarnate as a human being in one of your first lives, it's confusing, it's hard to understand, it's survival. You end up doing some things usually that are like not great for the environment, the earth, and other people. So like you get attached karmically to the planet, and it basically just means you created a ripple of energy and information that is still reverberating and spreading out and bouncing around the energy form of the planet, and it's only really be able to be resolved if you go back in as another life form and you pick up that same resonance and basically pick it up, not identically, but you come back as like a slightly more ready version of yourself to resolve that energy disruption. And I think that for some souls, it takes many lifetimes, depending on what's going on, and for some, it takes one or two. And I think that's what we're doing. Is we have a lot of people on the planet right now that may have some karma they're working through still, especially the older generation. But I think this newer push of humans might have less karma, and that might be sort of how we're gonna get out of this like mess we're in. We're gonna have a bunch of people here for a while that aren't so weighed down energetically, and that allows us to start that new cycle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? Yeah.
it makes sense. It makes sense on a collective level. Thinking of it as an individual level, it's impossible to be here in this world where everything relies on the sources of another. You know, plants, animals, the whole cycle is pretty predatory to survive here. So you really can't come here without uh, you know, accumulating a lot of negative karma, especially as things got more and more modern. You know, you're not even thinking about it. It's not something that's told to us. But on the other hand, India has to be figured out itself. And I certainly agree as far as generations go, you know, as far as the mindset of the older generations. Well, I can only speak to like boomers,
Yeah.
my generation. They truly don't really seem to understand any kind of collective or I mean, I shouldn't say that. Some obviously do, but it's just like different for them. It's still very much like they feel like they're doing a really great job by taking care of themselves, which which might be a great thing, but they also don't really have that understanding in my mind or appreciation for distributing that.
Yeah. I Yeah, that's it's kind of this is one of those places where astrology actually gets a little spooky, because their generation is my parents are also boomers, and the generation has talked about like it's supposed to be like the lowest point of consciousness, but by being there, it shows everyone else like this is what you aren't supposed to be, and like it's like a trigger for an evolution in consciousness. I don't remember the exact dates, but I'm pretty sure the King of England, when the American Revolution started, he was a it's Pluto and Leo. I'm pretty sure that generation had Pluto and Leo too. So it literally drives a civilization to the point where it's like, screw this, we got to start over. We got to just break everything, and that's where we're at. And it's yeah,
Yeah, that is going to be a big shift, I guess. Um, that kind of end of that. It's interesting to wonder what's yeah how that's going to play out resource wise.
yeah. I'm trying to pay attention a lot to the just how they're trying to control speech and stuff, and um, trying to censor the internet right now. And it's fascinating that they probably won't be around in 10 years, but they're trying to dictate laws that are going to go forward for who knows how long. Um, it's fascinating, but also a little scary. Yeah.
It is scary. So what are your thoughts about a kind of split between the spiritual soul that are really going to lean into this kind of augmented reality? Think both will exist in time or
I think that I honestly, from the computer science background, and also the just understanding like what how the body works, and even like the underlying energetic field we just talked about, and also like how cells are extremely sensitive to like external information, and when it's that close to the body, I feel like it's going to disrupt us. And then I think that this they're going to basically run to a roadblock where the body is just going to reject these things for the most part, and uh, I don't know how you even integrate like circuitry in the brain in a way we can utilize it like interactively without just. I guess it's possible, but I mean, I just don't think that it's going to work the way they think it's going to work. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
these yeah, and then these new these AIs, these large language models, these I think that they're going to realize that this isn't going to replace nearly as many jobs right away, and that we're going to run into some real roadblocks with their capabilities and their abilities to do any of the things they're promising. Um, I try to use it pretty regularly, and I see the flaws in it constantly. It's just predicting what a human would say. So it's a human can be wrong a lot of the time, and a human can be right a lot of the time. So it's just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100% where I'm like using just chat, GPT, and then Grok. And so, but there's a part of me that's like, okay, this is what they're releasing to the public. And, so my kind of thought is they're probably making it seem this way. Uh, when I look back on history, I wonder about some of these inventions. You know how we had a cassette tape and we went to a CD, and it's like even the radio does not make sense to me. How they were like having horses and wagons, and all of a sudden they invented a radio. Like to me, like the invisible sound waves coming through to the receiver. I don't know. To me, it's like I guess I'm of the belief that they release technology certain times. There's a big money grab involved in that. There's big cultural shifts involved in that, but it's not necessarily what it seems to be on the surface. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Radio waves are a weird one, but like especially the more modern electronics, they definitely have at least 20 years of tech that we don't have in the public sector in most cases, like most areas. I wonder what the AI looks like. I've heard rumors that I just feel true that they have had what they call an intuitive AI, which is basically they give it a task and they say figure it out, and then it starts running with the quantum computer. It starts being able to run all these things in parallel, and then it sort of begins to like assume variables will work so that it can like use intuition like we do. So like we're not always saying go X, go Y. We're like, okay, so I feel like it's going to be over there. So it's starting to try to guess, and then as it gets better and better at that, it's able to intuit like what is going to be the best answer. And they've been able to do incredible things with this thing, like controlling, apparently controlling like little orbs that fly incredibly fast, and then they can work in unison together and create really incredible patterns like the drone swarms when they do those shows, but we're talking like incredible speeds. um and then I'm and then you even take that out into like government like operations, like how do we want to get, let's say we want to get rid of social security, how do we go about doing that? And then the computer can give them a script that they can follow, that it's worked through in ways we can't even do ourselves. So like I think those things are possible. Yeah, I think they may have stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
they solve a lot of problems. Seem to be the goal here on this planet. You know. I mean, they could put into place immediately a universal basic income,
Yeah.
and they could put into place immediately a bunch of social supports, community connections that would get everyone sorted out, and it wouldn't cost them anything. They could just put the little digits in our bank account, and that's it. We'd all be set to create communities and do what we want. But yeah, that doesn't seem to be the goal to get too far without.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they've been setting up for hundreds of years. Is these banking families and these different elites and stuff. And I know it used to be a conspiracy, but now it's pretty it's pretty out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they there was this group called this. It's been several groups that have tried to do this, but there's this belief that if you do something crazy for your soul, that you have to your soul, and not necessarily the personality, but the soul has to like arrange reality so that you can redeem it, or else it's trapped in like a negative karma loop. So it starts to try to undo some of that karma by elevating you in different ways so you can have a bigger impact. And so a lot of these elites believe that if they do incredibly evil stuff, their soul is going to save them. So they do these evil things in the name of trying to gain power, and that's part of it. So they've been doing these things with the goal of both trying to drag God here to clean up the mess, and also to force their soul into evolution, and also experience dominating other people. So it worked for a time, but that time's running out. So like that's I think what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar type of, just about how maybe it's the same one or a slightly different. Yeah, if you accumulate massive negative energy, that, like you were talking about the polarities on your, when you stay in the middle,
Yeah.
right? Like negative stuff that somehow that gives you, that gets it all over with at once, and then you sure get to go to a positive, to be a positive entity.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure it works like that though. Yeah. 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 It's yeah. Is there anything else you've been into recently or any-
Feel like I'm clear to get out of here and not reincarnate again.
okay.
So, so this so meditating. So, I'm also looking at the possibility of things that maybe for the positive, and finding everything the next couple of years that gets sorted out. Kid who's 19, so things to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. But my just getting more and more into like understanding how um being at the center of a experience and how it all ties together, and how like I can sort of heal the things that I'm still struggling with as best as possible, and then while also keeping tabs on that and trying to use that to share with other people so they can move through that faster for themselves. That's basically what I've been trying to work on. Because for whatever reason, when I woke up to this stuff, it was either I did a bunch of work beforehand or it's just something I'm supposed to do. It was like all the pieces all of a sudden came together, just snapped. And it's like I want to offer that to other people. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
That's the same thing for me. Um, so I'm a counselor by profession, but and of course always doing my own work on healing. But when I came to see the world expanded and kind of develop a sense of spirituality, because I'd always been very materialism, the way things are, and it was very freeing for me to see my trauma in the sense of structures. And this place presses down on all of us. And with psychedelic experiences too, I went into myself and saw no difference. Like my deep trauma, I could see it echoed in my parents' deep trauma.
Yeah.
And so it was like, how could they have done any different? Like they didn't have they had it worse than me. So how could they have done any different? And so then it was like, oh, okay. So we're connected with this thread experience here. And so anyway, that was very uplifting, like the mental health field is like take responsibility for your own uh, in your own life, and that's great. You need that, but for me, it was very freeing to be like, wait a minute, this stuff wasn't really anybody's fault. This goes way up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been dealing with that too. Yeah. Yeah.
So is it like your main work at this time,
It
or
is. Yeah. I'm trying to grow this into something that hopefully has some legs, and then hopefully grow a little community, and then like to like put on some events where we all come together and just sort of talk about this stuff, and then we can all share uh, all sorts of things that work for us, ideas, new concepts, like yeah, even devices possibly, stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because this does touch almost literally everything in our lives. So yeah.
So yeah, I'll send you an email because I'd like to post your video on my
Sure.
website. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
fine. Yeah. All right, great. Yeah. Yeah, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining me. Yeah. Yeah, I might switch around the times for next week, just because see if I can get a better turnout. But yeah, I'll let you know when I'm sending another email and everything. Yeah.
yeah, this time actually worked because I saw 7. I finish at 7, but it's 8 o'clock my time.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, but yeah, keep us posted.
Okay.
And
Thank you, and
you,
yeah, and thank you for having this conversation. It was great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, have a good night. Bye. Bye.